morning and welcome to Prime Edition this Tuesday. Later on in this live broadcast on Scorecard, my colleague Mariambo and O'Brien Kimani will be dissecting the Privatization Act of 2023. That's coming up later. But first, we would like to look at our highlights tonight. Senior government officials and Machakos politicians, among 30 persons summoned to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations over Mavoko demolitions quagmire. Meru MCAs in a second attempt at impeaching Governor Kawira Mwangaza. All of Kenya's 15,000 health facilities to be digitally connected to ease sharing of information. Welcome, my name is Mboya and our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Now, at least 30 people, among them senior government officials, directors at the Aimi Ma Lukenya Society and local politicians have been summoned by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations over the unfolding land scandal in Mavoko, Athi River. The summons by the DCI comes in the wake of claims by the victims of the demolitions that they were conned by the society into buying the land. Meanwhile, the East African Portland Cement Company is blaming the squatters for ignoring its warning not to engage unscrupulous land-selling companies over the land.
It's been a tough week for Dr. Peter Mutua as he salvages what he can before bulldozers flatten what was meant to be his humble abode.
So even now, there's a conflict of interest of Portland. The Portland are selling politically correct.
Josephine says her brother took out a loan to build this property.
Na hii ndio ilikuwa tegemeo yake ya kila siku. So tunashindwa serikali watatusaidia haji.
The story is shared by everyone here.
Hii jambo imetuumiza sana.
Lazani tumeombea kwa nyumba. Kwa hivyo mimi sitaki chochote kwa mtu, sina hatua yote, ile iko ni kuambia Mungu anipatie new direction.
Refugees are also here.
Tangia nimaliza kujenga hii nyumba, niliweka wakimbizi ndugu zangu. Ndio walikuwa wanakaa kwa hii nyumba. Na hivi wanaondoka, hakuna mahali wanaenda. Na nilikuwa najenga hii pia niweke wengine.
Na sasa ni wangapi ambao walikuwa wanaishi humu ndani?
Humu ndani, huyu mama na watoto 7 na mume wake wote ni 9.
The East Africa Portland Cement asserted its legitimate ownership of the 4,000 acres of land and was categorical that the people must leave. Portland Cement says it issued numerous notices during the 9-year legal tussle with the society against unscrupulous entities purporting to own the land.
The ministry verified that the documents held by the Aimima Lukenya were fake and could not serve as a basis for ownership.
Ni uchungu, ni uchungu.
Wakati walinunuzi viwanja walitupatia certificate alafu wakasema title deed zitakuja baadaye.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has summoned 30 people, among them Mavoko MP Patrick Makau, the management of the Aimi Malu Kenya Society, and senior government officials over the unfolding scandal. The DCI has also invited the victims of the demolitions to avail all their transaction documents to aid in the apprehension of those involved in the theft. Thousands of families say they were duped into buying parcels of land that are being reclaimed by the East Africa Portland Cement. But as another round of legal tussles await, these families say they cannot afford to stand in the way of the eviction. What started as a journey towards financial freedom appears to have turned into a nightmare for them. For Prime Edition, I am Edward Kabasa.
We will track and report on that story as it develops further. Now, the County Assembly has given Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza 7 days to respond to allegations of misappropriation and misuse of county resources and embezzlement of county funds. Governor Mwangaza is facing yet another round of impeachment after months of frosty relationships with Meru Ward representatives. And as Give Us On Minor reports, the MCAs say that the only workable solution to the political stalemate in Meru is the exit of the embattled county boss.
Less than a year after Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza survived an impeachment motion at the Senate, Meru County Assembly on Tuesday kicked off a second impeachment attempt against the county boss.
Threatening to inflict bodily harm against the deputy governor orally and in WhatsApp chats, forcibly breaking entry and ransacking of the deputy governor's office, changing the locks to the deputy governor's office.
In a notice of impeachment tabled by Majority Leader Evans Mawira, Kawira has been given 7 days to respond to the accusations against her.
Kawira Mwangaza has grossly violated, among others, 1. Articles 10, Articles 19, 28, 73 and 75 and 179 of the Constitution.
Kawira is facing allegations of misappropriation and misuse of county resources and embezzlement of county funds. The governor is also accused of nepotism in hiring the county personnel.
Persistently making demeaning public utterances against other elected leaders despite the same issue featuring prominently in the previous impeachment proceedings.
She will answer to allegations of bullying and demeaning other county leaders, gross violation of the law, and usurpation of statutory powers.
Encouraging and condoning the removal of the deputy governor junior officers from official county WhatsApp communication forums, arbitrary suspension, dismissal, withdrawal and frustration of the staff of the office of the deputy governor, illegally and irregularly and fraudulently holding the deputy governor's staff out of office by purporting to accept their non-existent resignations.
The MCs also claim she is in contempt of the court that reversed the illegal naming of a public road after her husband without adhering to the due process. Kawira's woes comes days after the Senate's Devolution Committee visited the county to unlock the stalemate between the county leadership and the MCs. Give Us Minor, Prime Edition.
Now, the National Dialogue Committee has been added a further 30 days to conclude its mandate of considering issues for negotiations and the process of making appropriate constitutional and policy reforms on each of the issues on the table. The extension follows a joint request by the National Assembly leader of the majority party, Kimani Ichung'wah, and his minority counterpart, Opiyo Wandayi. Kamche Meza reports.
National Dialogue Committee Co-Chair Kimani Ichung'wah and Deputy Chair Opiyo Wandayi on Thursday, while requesting for mandate extension, indicated that the committee is on course and Kenyans should not lose faith.
Even the matter of the cost of living, which obviously is covered under Article 43 issues, is an issue that the committee is properly seized of. And I've always said that this committee will not complete its work without addressing itself to the matter of the cost of living.
Many Kenyans will bear as witness that this dialogue process has in a big way helped to calm the nation.
The committee was required to report to the leadership of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalitions by end of October after the lapse of 60 days. However, with 10 days to go, the committee still has a lot on its plate.
Real negotiations started just last Thursday. On Thursday last week and on Friday is when we now had real negotiations happening. Because previously we have had to listen to the public, members of the public and agencies and groups. If the House in its wisdom can grant us that extension, we shall be able to now undertake the final bit of this work.
Currently, the committee is on a break and the technical and secretariat teams are working on a guide for negotiations.
To guide the committee in terms of the constitutional provisions and legal provisions, and even be able to come up with draft legislative interventions, and if there are any constitutional interventions, also to be able to come up with that so that they form part of our report.
Following the extension, the National Dialogue Committee is expected to table its report on or before the 26th of November, even as it requested for more well-wishers to support in its budget. Kamchemenza, for Prime Edition.
President William Ruto says that Kenya's strategic location, rich history of stability, and revolutionary technology make it one of the world's top investment spots. Speaking at an investors' roundtable in China, Ruto reiterated Kenya's conducive investment environment will help Chinese companies undertake projects like road construction, railway expansion, and also airport modernization. Timothy Kipnusu reports.
Day 2 of President William Ruto's tour in China. It is here that he underscored the country's commitment to working closely with China to strengthen business ties through multifaceted and intertwined relationships.
Kenya has established a now robust public-private partnership framework, and just last week I signed into law the privatization bill that will make it much more easy for the private sector to engage with government in some of the projects and programs and initiatives to de-risk some of your investments.
Speaking during an investors roundtable organized by Kenya Investment Authority and Kenya-China Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Beijing, China, Ruto said Kenya's solid track record of a friendly business environment, broad trade opportunities, good infrastructure, and wide pool of skilled manpower guarantees investors a high return on their investments.
Chinese companies in Kenya have invested immensely in critical sectors, including energy, construction, manufacturing, and telecommunication.
We are delighted to inform you we have set up 3 Kenya national pavilions in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Xi'an, 3 different cities. And this national pavilion will promote Kenya products as coffee, tea, macadamia, and also the tourism and also the investment opportunities.
On the standard gauge railway project, Ruto said discussion with China to extend it to the eastern and western coast of Africa are ongoing.
We've had conversations with the president of Uganda, with the president of DRC, with the president of Congo, Brazzaville, and we've all agreed on the need to extend this piece of infrastructure as a means of facilitating trade across our continent and making sure that companies like yourselves who set up in Kenya not only have access to the Kenyan market, but have also access to the East African market and the continental market.
I'm pitching Kenya not as a lending destination. I'm pitching Kenya not as an aid destination. I'm pitching Kenya as an investment destination.
Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
And back home, the government is set to embark on the construction of digital health superhighway that will see industry players plug in for crucial information in the sector. The superhighway will not only see the over 15,000 health facilities across the country networked, but also standards set for sharing patient information history and data, medical product availability, and crucial statistics on disease prevalence in the country. Achola Simon is keeping tabs on the ongoing Universal Health Conference in Kericho County, and this is the report that he has filed.
We can all agree. If achieved, the digital health superhighway project will see sector players and institutions access crucial patient data on a need basis, availability of medical products and equipment across the over 15,000 health institutions across the country. It will also facilitate timely prevalence rates of various ailments at the county level and nationally.
We don't have real-time data. We don't have effective diagnosis and decision-making procedures. This has been aggravated by the slow adoption of digital health platforms. And this has continued to fragment, to silo our health systems, as well as to undermine our road to digitization.
The project will be greatly aided by community health workers who, according to the Health Cabinet Secretary Suzanne Nakhumicha, will play the critical role of the first point of advice for the patients and the referral links.
Study has shown that out of the 70 people who find themselves in a health facility, they go due to illnesses that are otherwise preventable. So for us to ensure that we are making a smart investment, that we spend less but achieve more, we are going to, our priority area is on prevention and promoting healthcare, that we want to prevent diseases from occurring.
The security of the data of the patients and accessibility of the data mining project, however, is one of the major concerns amongst players in the sector.
And we have ensured that we have put in place the necessary measures that we need to ensure that health records are kept privately, they are confidential and only accessed by the people who have a right to access.
So we want to reach a stage where Wanjiku is able to trust that her health data within the comprehensive and integrated health information system is secure, that it can be used, it is used only by those people who need to use it, and even them when they are accessing it, they are able to access it securely.
Apart from equipping and building the capacity of community health workers, the Ministry of Health is also looking at increasing skilled human resource in the general health sector. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kericho County.
Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs Musalia Mudavadi says that he will be focusing on diaspora affairs and Kenya's international obligations in his new docket. Speaking on Tuesday at Railway Headquarters as he takes over the ministry from Dr. Alfred Mutua, Mudavadi promised Kenyans in the diaspora that they shall be treated with dignity. His tourism counterpart, on his part, promised to offer counsel to Mudavadi in the spirit of whole government approach to deliver to the people of Kenya in line with the bottom-up transformative agenda.
This handshaking presentation of official documents from Tourism Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua symbolizes the handover of the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, which he previously led. His successor, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, whose office has been expanded to include the ministry, says he's keen to advance Kenya's national interests regionally and globally with a key focus on diaspora affairs and international obligations.
Whenever any Kenyan national abroad is in distress, we will not hesitate. We shall deploy our diplomatic tools to ensure the protection of our people. For us, the principles and objectives of the United Nations Charter are sacrosanct and offer the best safeguards for all nations, big or small, weak or strong.
Highlighting the 5th Media Coordination Meeting of the Africa Union in July this year and the Africa Climate Summit in September 2023, his predecessor, Dr. Alfred Mutua, reflected back to his tenure in the docket, saying he worked diligently to promote Kenya's economic, cultural and environmental diplomacy.
The ministry has also worked tirelessly to champion issues of peace and security, as well as sustainable development at the continental level in the spirit of positive Pan-Africanism.
The two principals pledged to continue seeking avenues of cooperation and partnerships even as they deliver to Kenyans under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
When I was out there in the world, I was able to interact with many people, and we realized the gaps that we have.
This will entail a new focus of digital diplomacy, where we transact in real time, engage with the national, regional and global audiences, and promote Kenya's interests and values in the conduct of our foreign policy.
Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
The Senate committee investigating Shakahola deaths has fined government chief pathologist Johansen Oduor 500,000 shillings for not honoring invites. Oduor allegedly snubbed the second invite by the senators without apology, causing the committee to issue the fine. The committee led by Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana also took issue with the prisons department for failing to avail the prime suspect, Pastor Paul Mackenzie, to testify before the committee. It retreats to prepare a report.
The Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Shakahola Killings invited Good News International Church Pastor Paul Mackenzie to give a side of the story on Tuesday. However, Pastor Mackenzie, through his lawyers and prisons officials, wrote to the committee citing logistical challenges.
And if I was his lawyer, I would have wanted him to appear before this committee with all the privilege of the Senate and protection of the Senate to say his side of the story.
The committee had also for the second time invited government chief pathologist Johansen Odur, but he was a no-show. The senators then decided to impose a 500,000 shillings fine on Odur.
It is the order of this committee that the fine is still holding, and he must pay the fine personally. It's not the ministry that should pay. And as far as him not being able to come here or not being able to be produced here, the Senate plenary will give further directions on what to do.
On Monday, the Senate committee visited Pastor Ezekiel Odero's New Life Prayer Center and Church in Mavueni, Kilifi County as part of their probe and observed there was no link between Pastor Ezekiel and Pastor Mackenzie.
When we went, we saw the place that is supposed to be the mortuary. It's a powerhouse. That's where the generator that is circulating power around there was there. The grave site that we were told is there, we saw it's a construction site.
The committee has now resolved to retreat on Thursday to write a report without the input of Pastor Mackenzie and the government pathologist. Kenyans wanted to know and to hear from Pastor Mackenzie as to whether it is true he was preaching starvation as a means to see Jesus. But with the mandate of the committee coming to an end this Thursday, the ball now lies with Senate plenary that will decide whether Mackenzie will be given a second chance to be heard. Gisho Kawashira, Prime Edition, Parliament Building.
Preparations for this year's Mashujaa national celebrations are in top gear at the Kericho Stadium in Kericho County. On Tuesday, the Kenya Security Forces conducted rehearsals at the venue attended by senior national and county government officials. Internal Security and National Administration Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo said that they are working round the clock to ensure a successful event on Friday. This as members of the public were urged to turn up in large numbers for the celebration, which will also see the official launch of the Universal Health Coverage Scheme.
We are inviting all the residents of Kericho County and the rest of the country to come and witness and be part of these Mashujaa Day celebrations that will be held here on Friday. Alongside or on the sidelines of these celebrations, we have a whole week's event showcasing the interventions that the government or the administration of President Ruto is undertaking on the healthcare space. And part of that involves the unveiling of community health promoters that is being overseen by CS Nakumincha. We are satisfied with all the preparation that has gone in place to ensure that this event becomes a success.
Tutafunga sherehe hizi tarehe 20 tukiwa na Mheshimiwa Rais wa nchi hii William Samoei Ruto ambaye atatufungia rasmi na pia kuzindua sasa kuanza kwa afya nyumbani. Tuko na wahudumu ambao wanafanya afya nyumbani, wale community health promoters. Tumetrain 1,100, tumewapatia kits, vifaa yani zile ambazo watatumia kule nyumbani, vifaa ambazo kila mmoja wao kati yao 1,100 kila mmoja wao ako na kit. Kila mmoja wao tumempatia simu mpya smartphone ambayo watatumia kuchukua data pale nyumbani. Kwa hivyo nataka kuchukua fursa hii kuwakaribisheni nyinyi wote na pia kuwaeleza ya kwamba sasa muwe tayari ya kwamba mtakuwa mnapata afya nyumbani.
Now, a 23-year-old man with mental challenges has gone missing. His family says that he was last seen in their estate in Kasarani 9 days ago, and attempts to trace his whereabouts have not borne fruits.
23-year-old Nicholas Orina Nyandika went missing from their Kasarani home on the eve of 8th October. His father, Sami Nyandika Nyamura, says he was mentally ill.
Sasa kuna mtoto yangu ambaye alipotea juzi, lakini ilikuwa tarehe 8 jioni. Ni mtoto ambaye ni mlemavu, nimekaa naye kwa hiyo ulemavu kwa miaka mingi. Sasa ilifika siku hiyo jioni, akatoka bila hata kuambia mtu yeyote. Kutoka tangu saa hiyo sijawahi kumuona tena.
Nicholas, who can only communicate in Swahili, was last spotted in Jiru, Kasarani, wearing a black and white dotted shorts, a black shirt and a black sweater.
Wakati alipotea, ile mavazi alikuwa navaa kinyasa ni fupi, kinyasa ambayo ilikuwa madoadoa, shati nyeusi na sweta nyeusi. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa tu naomba tu msamaria mwema yoyote ambaye yule ataweza kumuona, ataweza kunipigia ripoti ili niweze kumpata.
Information regarding his whereabouts can be channeled to the nearest police station or on telephone numbers 0727 080 427 or 0705 325 074.
Now, more than 10 people have been seriously injured after a lorry moving from Kamandura, Limuru to Ruaka, Kiambaa, lost control and rammed into more than 7 vehicles that were parked by the roadside at Dederu roundabout in Kiambaa constituency, Kiambu County. These and more in our county news roundup.
The 10 injured were rushed to different hospitals around Kiambu County, while the damaged vehicles have been towed to Renu Police Station. Kiambaa OCPD Pius Mwanthi urged motorists to be more cautious on the road. Residents, on the other hand, wants the government to construct a flyover instead of a roundabout.
But the drivers stick to the regulations. They are not supposed to overspeed, especially when they are coming around this particular roundabout, whereby there's a lot of activity.
Still in Kiambu, traffic along Gitaru-Ruaka Road was halted for 3 hours by a section of residents protesting the expansion of the Western Bypass. The aggrieved protesters were demanding compensation for the loss of homes and farms after they relocated to pave way for the project.
Nikienda huko wakaniitisha namba ya bag ati watatuma pesa, na kutoka wakati hiyo mpaka wa leo hawajatuma.
Meanwhile, Lake Kenyatta Farmers Association, the county government of Lamu and the national government are setting up a cotton ginnery in the area that is expected to be operational by the end of the year.
Tunataka kuanzisha mtambo wa micro ginnery ambao utakuwa na uwezo wa kuchukua hata kama si zote mazao kadhaa ambayo wakulima wetu wanaleta kupitia kwa hii cooperative yetu.
Also in Nakuru County, the Kenya Wildlife Service has relocated a family of 6 hippos that had been terrorizing employees on the Naivasha Water and Sewerage Company at the sewage treatment plant.
And transported them to Laikipia in a place where it's well secured with a fence and there is a fresh pond and where we expect them to thrive in that ecosystem.
Still in Nakuru, 2 men are nursing bullet wounds after they were shot in the streets while protesting the theft of their fish and fishing gear by illegal fishermen at Lake Naivasha.
Wakavunja stores za fishers, wakaiba engine, wakanyang'anya au engine ya patrol. Sasa tukashindwa what is happening.
And the Lions International Organizations has rolled out community services to the Maasai Mara residents in Narok County, including free medical checkups.
Our Lions clubs, as well as our Leo clubs, engage in environmental projects that are relevant in their communities. In some areas, that means oceanside cleanup of plastics.
In Embu County, coffee farmers were a disappointed lot after the Ministry of Cooperatives failed to announce a 164 million shillings loan waiver owed by the Embu coffee mills.
Kama kuna watu bado wanafikiria wanaweka vidole yao kwa mambo ya pesa ya wakulima na mali ya wananchi, hiyo your days are numbered.
Finally, Narok Governor Patrick Ntutu has vowed to sack underperforming members of his executive, adding that his office has allocated 3 billion shillings towards county development.
I think if there is people that I'm very proud of, is the County Assembly of Narok. They have really supported my administration, particularly on the projects that we have initiated from your wards.
For Prime Edition, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
We're taking our first break on Prime Edition. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Nchi yetu inaandamwa na kolera, inaharisha na kutapisha inau.
Je, unajua kuna mkurupuko wa kolera nchini? Kolera inasababisha kuharisha, kutapika na inaua haraka. Yoyote aliye na dalili hizo apewe ORS au maji mengi na apelekwe hospitalini apate matibabu haraka. Ingawa kolera ni hatari, kuitwanga ni rahisi. Kwanza, tumia choo kujisaidia wakati wote. Pili, osha mikono na sabuni na maji safi kwenye nyakati muhimu. Tatu, zingatia usafi wa chakula. Osha na upike chakula vizuri. 4, kunywa maji yaliyotibiwa au kuchemshwa pekee. Jamii inakutegemea. Jilinde na ulinde jamii yako. Zingatia usafi ili ujali watu wako. Sote tuko na jukumu la kuangamiza kolera. Wanafunzi, walimu na vijana, wamama na wazee. Tutwange kolera.
Pamoja, tutwange kolera. Tutwange kolera.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasabi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aliwajeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023. It is now easier to report and surrender. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started. Beat the November 1st deadline. It is your turn to surrender and report qualifying unclaimed financial assets. Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Welcome to the business segment. Counties are required to set up artisanal mining committees by November, and artisanal miners must form marketing cooperatives by December 2023 for consideration in the issuance of artisanal mining permits. Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria says ongoing mining reforms will mean ensuring artisanal miners are upskilled, funded and kitted through their respective cooperatives.
Artisanal mining was decriminalized in Kenya as part of a raft of reforms undertaken by the Mining Ministry with a view to grow the sector, targeting a 15% gross domestic product contribution in the next 1.5 years.
We are meeting the investors. Next week we are also meeting another category of stakeholders. And we are doing this so that everybody can understand the reforms that we are carrying out in the mining sector.
The government is looking to empower small-scale miners whose activities contribute to over $80 million annually to the economy and employs over 250,000 people. The mining ministry says value addition across the mining value chain will optimize Kenya's potential despite sporadic headwinds in the past.
All the artisanal mining activities will be carried out by artisanal mining cooperative societies. So by December we'll have completed the process of listing the artisanal miners into cooperative societies. We have also directed that each county should have a functional artisanal mining committee by November, so that from 1st of November then we carry out training for all artisanal mining committees across the country.
Part of the reforms include enhancing compliance of regulations and expediting plans to modernize the country's labs to safeguard against mineral fraud.
Because testing and sampling is a key ingredient in making sure that we have the right quality of minerals, so that we can avoid all these fake things that you have been reading around. So already we have signed an MOU with the government of Indonesia, and we are following up its implementation so that Madini House can receive the international certification.
The State Department of Mining plans to hold more stakeholder engagements in coming weeks to discuss how the reforms in the sector can be improved. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Inadequate integration of systems amongst regulators and counties has enabled quacks infiltrate the engineering sector. To remedy this, Engineers Board of Kenya Registrar Engineer Margaret Ogai says that there is need to fast-track the Development Control Bill to, among others, foster capacity building at the county level by having professionals oversight development projects and also avert losses occasioned by collapsing buildings.
About 69.8% of projects inspected by the National Construction Authority in 2022 were found to be non-compliant with building codes and regulations.
We find that apart from approval, when it comes to the actual implementation, developers are not engaging engineers throughout.
The Engineers Board of Kenya says non-compliance resulted in costly delays in project completion, hefty fines, and even punitive legal action against the developers.
So what NCA have on their side, I have visibility. They should have visibility to the engineers who are properly licensed at Engineers Board of Kenya. We should also have visibility in the county government. Which projects are these that they are approving? So that when we go to site, now we are more focused. That we are looking for is an engineer actually delivering this project.
Ogai says the Development Control Bill will seal loopholes that have been exploited by quacks.
We are working very hard to ensure that the graduate engineers who are employed at the county government level get to the level that they can have the competencies to be able to get registered, so that they are professional engineers, so that the services that they are providing are professional.
The regulator says so far, one engineer has been suspended while 3 others have served warning letters.
More than 17,000 taxpayers have applied for tax amnesty under the ongoing tax relief program, which lapses in June next year. The Kenya Revenue Authority says that this will help the taxman collect 10.5 billion shillings under the program. KRA Chief Manager for Domestic Taxes, Caroline Rotich, says that it has so far managed to collect 3.4 billion shillings under the amnesty program.
The Finance Act 2023 introduced the tax amnesty program waiver of penalties and interest accrued until December 31st, 2022. Under the program, taxpayers will only be required to pay the principal tax amount of outstanding tax debts. Taxpayers have the option of entering into a payment plan with KRA to settle the outstanding amount. Kenya Revenue Authority says the amnesty will help the agency collect over 51 billion shillings from the debts accrued in the period. So far, the taxman has collected 3.4 billion shillings from 17,000 taxpayers who have applied for tax amnesty.
Taxes that they had when they started in September was 10.1 billion. So we still have 6.6 billion to collect from these taxpayers. For the domestic taxes, the debt portfolio is about 1.4 trillion, and all these taxes some are in court, so we are not able to collect from them. There are some that have issues that need to be sorted, probably return amendments and other issues that have made us not collect.
The tax agency has given a grace period of 8 months from 1st of September to June 30th, 2024 to effect the removal of interest and penalties.
The only time we will open your systems for you to effect the changes. So if a taxpayer does not take advantage of the amnesty now, like file your return for those periods and pay, then you will not be forgiven once the window is closed.
So what does KRA hope to achieve with the rollout of the amnesty program?
Is to encourage compliance. Number 2, to collect more revenue because more people are coming to clear their debts to benefit from the amnesty. And number 3, to correct our ledgers because most taxpayers are also bringing documents as evidence that they had paid. Number 3, we encourage taxpayers to withdraw cases from courts. Why are we encouraging them to do that? Because if you have a case in court now, you don't know when that decision will be made.
KRA has identified 2.8 million taxpayers who have penalties and interest and qualify for the tax amnesty program. The amnesty deal will see KRA waive up to 200 billion shillings from the taxpayers.
Kenya is wooing investors to buy a stake in various state-owned entities lined up for sale. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u says that the new Privatization Act that came into force earlier this month will help expedite the divestiture process. The CS was addressing investors during the ongoing International Monetary Fund annual meeting that was held in Morocco.
Last week, President William Ruto ascended the Privatization Bill 2023, heralding a new era in the privatization of state-owned entities. The act repeals the Privatization Act 2005, which has been blamed for the slow progress in state divestiture from various entities. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u says the new law will make it easier now for investors to buy a stake in various entities lined up for sale.
Returns from you cannot appropriate returns from your own investment because it's eaten up by auxiliary costs. So it becomes very expensive. That's why you have left the scene when the World Bank is saying they're going to do a survey next year to understand why middle-income countries find themselves in a growth trap.
These include Kenya Pipeline Corporation, Kenya Energy Generating Company, various sugar companies, among others. Ndung'u says the revised regulatory framework will help improve the efficiency and competitiveness of Kenya's productive resources.
We want to come up with solutions that solve the current liquidity crisis, which is at the domestic level. The international markets are jittery just because we have seen is tightening monetary policy, raised interest rates, and appreciated the currencies in the West.
The new act seeks to establish the Privatization Authority while also removing the requirement for parliamentary approval for members of the authority.
Holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023.
Kwa hivyo, Bazenga unasema wewe ni mtu ya mbogi ya ulolo.
Sasa wewe unaongelesha huu mzee lugha gani?
Nasema tena timia ati nilisukuma wewe. Nikilisa mahakama, wheelchair yako ulikuja weka lock. Normally usipoweka lock itarudisha reverse. Ikarudisha wewe reverse, ikaende kaangusha wewe huko.
Orongo tu tupu.
Wewe kazi yako ilikuwa umeletewa mgonjwa utibu ama uangalie kama ana marasmus ama anafanya vitu gani?
I was supposed to treat him.
Na mbona hukufanya hiyo ilivyotakiwa?
Akarudi nyuma.
Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
And yes, indeed, a very good evening and welcome to Prime Edition Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu. Let's begin with hockey, where Cynthia Akinyi, Morino Witi, and Eliano Chebet are among the 18 players selected in the national women's hockey team, which will take part in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers in South Africa, scheduled from 29th October to 5th of November.
Head coach Jacqueline Mwangi has named a squad of 18 players who will travel tonight to South Africa to participate in the Olympic qualifiers. Among the selected players are Vivian Onyango, Diana Wino, Flavia Mutiva and Lucy Wangeshi, who will lead in the defense as Caroline Gashu, Tracy Karanja, Paulino Chieng, Naomi Kemunto and Moreno Chieng have been named in the midfield. Elena Chibet leads the attack line. Kenya will be aiming to secure a slot in the 2024 Paris Olympics. The African Olympic qualifiers are set for October 29th to November 5th at the University of Pretoria in South Africa, with Kenya facing Namibia, Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda and Zimbabwe. For Prime Edition, I'm Sela Onyango.
And Harambee Stars head coach Engin Firat has expressed confidence in his squad, saying the team is in good shape ahead of the 2026 World Cup qualifier set to kick off next month. Kenya battled to a 2-all draw with Russia in an international friendly match played last night in Turkey.
Stars coach Firat said Harambee Stars put up a spirited fight despite facing a highly fast European team. He said that Harambee Stars had a chance to win the game, but lack of concentration in closing stages of the match led them to conceding with a minute to go.
The sad part is that our goalkeeper Brian got injured. This is the most biggest problem we had today. So the rest of the game, I think we controlled. We had a lot of goal chances. We could also easy win. So, but it's football, and last minute Russia scored. And therefore, I'm happy with the way we played, but result we could also win.
The Kenyan coach is confident that his charges are ready for FIFA World Cup qualifiers, slotted for next month. Stars are in Group F alongside Gabon, Seychelles, Burundi, Ivory Coast and Gambia. Stars will play their opening match away in Gabon on 13th November. For Prime Edition, I'm Sela Onyango.
And USA's National Football League, NFL, is set to hold youth championships in Kenya and Ghana as part of the league's effort to expand the game in Africa. The top teams from the championship will compete in the NFL Pro Bowl games in the United States in February next year.
Got to get it to midfield.
10 teams will feature in the NFL Football Flag Nairobi Championship.
Able to complete this one on the far side.
In the partnership with the Kenya Federation of American Football, the tournament will see both boys and girls team composed of players aged 12 and under take part in the championship at Moi Kasarani Stadium.
And let's see, are they going to say it's interception? I think they're going to give this to the offensive player.
The tournament accords the youth sporting chance while discovering the importance of sportsmanship, teamwork and friendship both and off the field. The tournament's winning team will represent Kenya in NFL Flag International Division Pro Bowl games in Orlando, USA in February next year. King Orimwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
And Australia rugby team head coach Eddie Jones says he remains committed to the team despite their early exit from the World Cup. Now the Wallabies were knocked out at the group stage for the first time after defeat by Fiji, and Wales' former England coach Jones denied speculation linking him with the return as Japan coach. Now Jones, who coached Australia from 2001 to 2005, was sacked by England in December. Rugby Australia has announced an independent review of the team's performance at the World Cup, but Jones said he sticks by his decision to select a young side and that it would stand them in good stead for a home World Cup in 2027. Now Australia beat Georgia in the World Cup Open and Portugal in their final Group C matches, but defeats by Fiji and Wales left them third in the group.
Absolutely. I love the game, mate. Yeah, I love the game. I love working with young players. I love seeing some of the young players maturing during the World Cup, and some of them struggle, and that's all part of it. But I love the game and I love coaching young players.
Well, and on that Rugby World Cup note, how we end Prime Edition Sports today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Bernardo Kumo, for that sporty update. Of course, coming up is Kokad and Mari Yambo and O'Brien Kimani. They are all ready tonight. Topic of discussion, they're dissecting the Privatization Act of 2023. But before we go, in 2005, when the Sabaot Land Defense Forces, led by one Wycliffe Matakwe, wreaked havoc in the Mount Elgon region, killing over 600 people and displacing thousands more, the Kenya Army was called in to assist the security forces that were being overwhelmed by the militia. Army Commander Lieutenant General Agostino Njoroge was called in to fortify the region. Later on, during Kenya's post-election violence in 2007-2008, General Njoroge would lead the army to secure the country that was slowly sinking into anarchy. General Njoroge is the one who will grace this week's edition of the Military Tales. My name is Mboya. Our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya. Bye-bye.
Retired Lieutenant General Ambassador Agostino Njoroge was born in 1951 in Menengai, Nakuru County, where he also undertook his early education.
I went to school in Menengai Primary School. From there, I went to Nakuru Day Secondary School.
He later on joined the military in March of 1970 as a young man, opting not to continue with his Form 5 and 6.
Out of 75, they were taking 14, and I was lucky to be one of them.
After training, he joined the Infantry Unit 5 Kia and later on became an instructor.
And then I joined the Communication Unit Signal Battalion.
He worked his way up the military ranks to finally lead the Kenya Army wing of the Kenya Defense Forces.
I was a squadron commander and also a company commander.
In 2005, after the Sabaot Land Defense Force terrorized Mount Elgon region and police were overwhelmed, the Kenya Army moved in under the command of General Njoroge.
We prepared, we had our intelligence, and when it was time, we started by cordoning the areas that we knew were involved.
He notes this as one of his most challenging assignments, owing to the rough terrain of Mount Elgon.
We moved to the forest. We asked all the fighters to move. We gave them time to move from the forest and come and face the authorities. Those who didn't, and Matakwe was one of them, he refused to surrender. So we went after him, and in the operation, him and a few others lost their lives. We left a camp for training just to give them confidence that they were safe. The camp is still there up to today.
2 years later, after the outcome of the 2007 presidential election was contested, violence erupted and General Njoroge was called in again to assist quell the chaos.
And I could feel the air was tense. We sent troops to go and clear the road. By midnight, they were able to open up the road. The police were there, but they were overwhelmed. Otherwise, it is not for us to interfere in internal affairs.
He remembers one incident when he had to deal with former Somali President Siad Barre, who had infiltrated the country after he was ousted in 1991 Somalia Civic War.
We met with IDID at the border, and we discussed how it was wrong for IDID to allow the troops to cross into Mandera. He asked where Siad Barre was. We said we haven't seen him, but in fact he was. We had allowed him to get to Wajir for us to meet him there.
When he retired, General Njoroge was appointed by President Mwai Kibaki as Kenya's ambassador to Israel in 2009. He notes the new escalation between Israel and Hamas have a negative impact on Kenya owing to the numerous cooperation between Kenya and Israel.
They have cooperated with us and assisted us mostly on security issues, but also on other areas like farming, the technology.
In 2013, President Uhuru Kenyatta would appoint him as the deputy chairman of the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission for the Agreement of the Resolution on the South Sudan Conflict, JMEC, at IGAD. Since his retirement, General Njoroge, now 72 years old, has enjoyed his rest and is into farming, business, and community service.
And other than farming, I started the business of processing water, and we have water with by the branded name of GET. I'm also involved in the development. Right now we are building a secondary school laboratory.
A family man, General Njoroge says none of his children followed in his military footsteps.
My son, you saw him. He didn't want to be in the military. He's a master's in computer science. We have 3 daughters. The senior one is a banker with ABSA. The third one is a microbiologist. She's a doctor in Texas, USA. And the last born, Janet Wangari, she's a nurse in Texas. We have 4 grandchildren.
Njoroge has urged the Kenyan government to assist in sorting out his visa issues with the American government.
Apparently, I have not been able to visit. This is a story on its own. For what I did, either in Mount Elgon for SLDF or the post-election violence, word got to the American embassy, and I don't know what report they got because that went to Washington. Today I'm still struggling to get a visa to the US.
His parting shot to the country is to maintain the values and virtues that hold Kenyans together as one nation. For Military Tales, I'm Bentro Njue.
Mjisqueeze hapo watano kusqueeze. Hapana. Maybe excess. Nini wewe shughulika na steering, mimi niko huku nyuma na watu. Mnavuja sheria bwana. Tutashikwa na makarao.
Usalama barabarani ni jukumu letu sote.